How hard is U.S. Army Ranger School? My life is a special operation. Now, I have vague understandings of boot camp, never been through it myself, and I have immense respect for those that do make it through regular boot camp. I hear Ranger School is absolutely different. I did have the pleasure of talking with a couple individuals at a point in time who were going off to Ranger School, and they needed to set certain things up while they're away because they wouldn't have access to devices or be able to do anything while they're out there, so that's setting things up before they go. Very interested to see how hard it is, especially in comparison to regular boot camp. And yeah, I'm a little curious to see how this goes.
Ranger School is one of the most difficult and demanding leadership schools in the world. Let's see how hard it is by discussing requirements, timeline and phases, standards and significant emotional events, sleep and food deprivation, mail, peer evaluations, harassment, and ultimately what you learn at Ranger School.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be an in-depth analysis. Oh boy. For YouTube TOS guidelines and advertiser purposes, I do want to state that obviously these are Army Rangers, or at the very least military personnel shown in the video. They are going to have the necessary proper discipline and safety in regards to certain implements, specifically firearms here. And these are all done inside of locations that are necessary and valid and safe to handle such firearms in. I do not condone any stupid activity or any illegal activity of firearms. And if you do not have the proper safety or discipline, please seek out a licensed and proper professional to be able to obtain that. Now that I've said that as most transparently as I can, I'm trying really hard to work with YouTube here. Let's get into it. I do like the intro. It's actually super cool.
Because of training to exhaustion, pushing the limits of your mind and body, every Ranger I know has a love-hate relationship with Ranger School. We hated the school and going through it, but we love what it taught us about our lives and ourselves. I can't recommend this leadership school enough. Let's start with requirements. Most Ranger students...
I can tell you right now, I do not meet any of these requirements. I am not only a civilian, I am out of shape.
Don't just show up cold to Ranger School.
No.
They come from a Ranger battalion where they have proven to their NCOs that they are ready for the course. Or they just finished a training pipeline like the Infantry Officers Basic Course or the Special Forces Qualification Course, and have a company commander validation of Ranger course prerequisites.
You are handpicked for this, it sounds like, at the very least. This isn't just you're getting admitted willy-nilly. There is a process to this. I have immense respect for this.
For everyone else, they usually get a Ranger School slot after a very difficult competition at their home station. And then they are sent to a pre-Ranger course. And these competitions and pre-Rangers are notoriously hard and further add to your muscular and mental fatigue. Ranger School is broken into 3 phases: binning phase, mountains, and Florida or swamp phase.
Oh, of course it's called Florida. Why wouldn't it be called Florida? Everything happens in Florida. Not that the location's happening in Florida, I just find it ironic that it's called Florida.
During the binning phase, students are required to pass several no-fail screening events, get some initial training, and then focus on squad-level patrolling. The first screening event during Ranger Assessment Phase, or RAP, is a fitness test. Ranger students have to do 49 perfect form push-ups, 59 perfect form sit-ups.
Wasn't it in the past several years that they had modified it? Wasn't there something like... there was something in there that I think they changed in the past several years to make raps a little easier, I think, or at the very least basic from in basic training. There was something they modified. I'm hearing this, of course, through the grapevine from my Cav Scout buddy.
And 6 chin-ups.
Maybe that was the one.
Then you do a 5-mile run in 40 minutes. I'm not sure how it is now, but I did my 5-mile run at 3 in the morning after a full day of combatives training and getting smoked.
You legend.
This was such a significant emotional event for me that my second ever Life as a Special Operation video was about preparing for Ranger School, and this event was my point of emphasis. Ranger students also have to do a combat water survivability assessment. Then you run the Malvesti confidence course. This is an easy obstacle course.
Yeah, it was the new PT test. I don't know what it involves. I know that it changed something.
I was a winter ranger, and so I just remember the water being freezing cold and super nasty.
Yeah.
Students also must pass a day and night land navigation test.
Oh my God.
A 2-mile buddy run in combat gear.
Look, all I'm going to say is I went to high school with some people that were absolute idiots. I wouldn't trust any of them with a map and a compass. Let's be real. But Kip, you live in Idaho. I'm aware. People go hunting all the time. Last time I went to the range, it was full because of people getting ready for hunting season. Don't get me wrong. I understand. God damn, some of these people I went to school with are stupid, though. Like, it is not an exaggeration when me and my buddy have had conversations about people we went to high school with, and he says, yeah, it surprises me that they don't forget to breathe. And it's not an untrue statement. God.
And a day at Victory Pond where you get to do a fun slide for life and a high rope drop. Rangers negotiate the Darby Queen obstacle course, which is 1 mile long.
Wow.
Complete a week of combatives training and a long ruck march out to the field training site.
I see people in chat talking about the new PT test, and they removed the shark attack. I'm not sure what that is at the start of basic, swapped at the first 100 yards. I really have, as a civilian, no bearing on it. I can say that, the new PT test, I'm aware there was a change, and apparently there's, according to chat as well, there's some debate in regards to people hating the change, other people liking the change. I don't have the ability to comment here. I'm just a civilian.
They don't tell you how long it is, but I suspect it was about 12 miles. Once you're at the field training site, you focus on learning and doing troop leading procedures. Battle drills.
The most dangerous thing on the planet is a second lieutenant with a compass. I both love and hate everything about that.
And squad level patrols. If you pass this phase, you are given a 6-hour pass to go into Columbus, Georgia to refit before moving out to mountains. A ranger buddy of mine was living in the Fort Benning area and
God, that looks great. Oh my God. Bro, those burgers look bomb. Holy crap.
so his wife picked us up with a bag of cheeseburgers and french fries. She drove us to Ranger Joe's to buy needed gear for mountains. Like a total amateur, I blew out one of my boots during bending phase, so I had to get some new ones. This meant I had to break in these boots during mountain phase.
Oh no.
Something I highly discourage.
Oh no.
We then went back to their apartment where I took a 4-hour nap while she did our laundry. Then she woke us up with more cheeseburgers and fries and then drove us back to Ranger School. I will never forget the kindness Mrs. Peterson showed us. Thank you so
Mrs. Peterson, the absolute just legend.
much.
Shark attack is when every drill sergeant jumps on you and starts yelling at you to do contradictory, mutually exclusive orders. Yeah, that sounds rough. I already have issues with authority, mostly just dumb authority. Like, I've worked under stupid management, let's be real, in the past. I'm not saying where I worked for stupid management for obvious legal reasons, and if you're thinking I'm talking about you, I'm most likely not talking about you, because I know who you are if you've seen my content, and you were probably a super legit manager that I had. I digress. I've worked under stupid management, and I've definitely gotten tiffs with stupid management, up to the executive level, actually. I'm not sure how I'd handle drill sergeants now. In the past, I absolutely couldn't have. I'm probably sure I still couldn't handle drill sergeants. Not that they're stupid, just it'd be really overbearing for me. I'm a civilian. I'm not military. I try to state this as much as I can. I can appreciate and respect military 100%, absolutely. You know, whereas other people only think military is only relevant on certain holidays and certain days of the year, which is absolutely asinine, because you guys do a hell of a lot and I have immense respect for it, especially because I can't do stuff like that. And you guys have ranks and awards and experience that I don't. So you guys deserve, all of you across all the branches deserve a lot more recognition, and thank you for everything that you do.
Upon returning to Ranger School, we all got smoked, something fierce, and then we loaded a bus and drove to Dahlonega, Georgia for mountain phase. I specifically remember being warned by several recent graduates, to include my cousin, not to get put into Bravo Company during mountains, and for sure to stay clear of a Ranger instructor, or RI, who for the sake of anonymity, I'm going to call Staff Sergeant V. I
do appreciate the anonymity there. As somebody that's worked under NDAs, I'm aware of OpSec being a thing, but even then, even outside of OpSec, sometimes it's just professional to anonymize people. Why was that hard to say?
Was the first name they yelled when we got off the bus. And of course, I was instantly introduced to Staff Sergeant V, who welcomed me to Bravo Company. He then let me know that as the senior student in the course, I was going to be the Garrison student leader. We then did a full gear layout in the freezing rain to ensure
that's a lot of gear. Remember, you're having to carry all this, right? Yeah, because helmet, molly vest, bag, looks like canteen, looks like multiple canteens. That's probably a belt. You're carrying all of this. Yeah, you're carrying all of this. That's a lot.
that our packing lists were complete. Within a minute, everything we owned and needed to use for the next few weeks was soaking wet.
Yeah.
Welcome to the mountains. The first few days of mountains is dedicated to military mountaineering and getting smoked. You learn knots, belays, anchor points, rope management, and the basic fundamentals of climbing and rappelling. And you learn how to move heavy military equipment in rugged terrain.
Is it relevant to say Rangers lead the way here? Does the meme in fact hold true?
And then we had a few days of mountaineering in some of the most miserably cold and stormy weather of my life. And then we did platoon-sized patrols, focused on ambushes and raids.
Huh. They're using irons too. They're not using ACOGs or anything like that. They're having to cite this in manually, right? This, or at the very least. Well, so they're having to they're using irons here because there's that. There's the rear iron. Okay, you're using irons. Okay, I thought they were having to maybe calculate like height over bore, which unironically is how I've been aiming this entire time. I do, because I never have the tool to like adjust my green dot. I always have to be like, okay, well, this is height over bore at this distance. 3 shots, just readjust. Obviously, I'm hitting the target, right? I'm not being an idiot about it. I just keep forgetting the tool to readjust my sight. So I've definitely been doing mental math and height over bore to adjust. Which now that I have sparked the all of the comments, you're welcome. I always don't have a screwdriver on me for some reason.
Phase of Ranger School was really great training.
Can't
But
reflect
man, did it
okay,
suck.
yeah.
Misery on every level. Sergeant V ended up being a bigger jerk than I expected. But compared to my small group instructor at the Special Forces qualification course, he was a Girl Scout. The last thing I remember about mountains was Sergeant V JMPI in my gear,
They're trainees, ACOGs and CCOs are for actual soldiers. Okay, that makes sense.
whispering something personal but motivating into my ear, and then loading all of us onto a C-130 to jump into Florida.
Like the actual state of Florida? They got gators there.
Florida was a few days of jungle-specific training followed by a 10-day patrol. I remember the training being first class.
Oh my god, it is actually Florida. Okay, I'm sure they would never allow it. Allegedly, if any of you have been to Army Ranger School, who wrestled the gator? Allegedly, obviously this would never happen. Obviously, we're talking strictly allegedly. Who wrestled the gator? Who won? And did you have barbecue that night? If this theoretical situation actually happened, which it of course definitely didn't.
Specifically, a jungle reptile familiarity course, which included wrapping some duct tape around the mouth of an alligator and letting him walk around the classroom to scare us all out of falling asleep.
Oh my god, no, they actually wrestled the gator. They actually wrestled the gator. Oh my god.
We also got some survival, resistance, evasion, and escape training. The 10-day patrol was very difficult. Days were long. Movements were slow and wet. We did a platoon air assault and some river crossings and boat movements. Although we were working together much better as a platoon, we were all just so mentally and physically
Ranger trainees would never wrestle that gator. They'll be eating it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
drained. After passing Florida, we were taken back to Fort Benning for a final day of out-processing and graduation. The Rangers in action display at the graduation ceremony is very impressive and memorable. Let's move on to significant emotional events. We always joke that the most important rule of Ranger School is don't quit. But there are plenty of people who have been kicked out for not passing a required event. These required events include, but are not limited to, the fitness test,
Right.
the combat water survivability assessment,
Makes sense.
a 5-mile run.
I'm curious what the combat water survivability one is. I'm curious what's entailed in that. I'd be very interested to see that. Not that I could do it. I couldn't do 40 push-ups, in correct form. I couldn't do that.
The 2-mile buddy run, water training, completing obstacle courses, showing aggressiveness, getting a go for a leadership position in a patrol at every phase.
My God. U.S. Ranger School unleashes trainees on unsuspecting gators. Why do I this makes sense now. Maybe this is to help cull the gator population. We're eating gator tonight.
This is why there is historically a 31 to 44% pass rate for Ranger School. In Garrison, you will eat 3 meals a day, sometimes MREs, sometimes at the dining facility, but usually a mixture of both, but always under pressure and time stress.
Right.
Rangers recite the Ranger Creed and then do 5 chin-ups before running into the dining facility. If you are lucky, you will eat your meal in the dining facility in 4 minutes. But sometimes the RIs are in a bad mood and you get 40 seconds to run through the chow hall.
That just reminds me of the funny clip of the dude saying he's having a good day and his drill sergeant comes in and he's just like, "Oh, thought you said you were having a good day." Like, yeah, I'm having a pretty good day. Well, you're getting up at 6 tomorrow. You're going for a run. You got 24-hour duty now too. He progressively has less and less of a good day.
It was during these moments when I would put butter on bread and pour sugar on it, fold it in half and jam it in my mouth.
God, I've done that. Not like, obviously, I haven't gone to Ranger School, but God, sometimes butter, sugar, and bread, sometimes it just hits just right.
I would try to maximize every possible calorie before I walked out of the dining facility, angry at life and disgusted with the cadre. I actually ate much better in the field, on patrols. When I went through Ranger School, we were given
beef ravioli. God, that sounds great, actually. What's this one? I'm trying to figure out what this one is. Vegetable lasagna. This one does not spark joy. This one sparks joy.
2 MREs a day. This was way more calories than in Garrison, but still, it was never enough. Every person I know loses weight at Ranger School. This is because you are in a caloric deficit every single day of Ranger School.
Okay.
I started Ranger School in great shape and weighing 180 pounds. I lost 20 pounds at Ranger School and graduated at my fighting weight, 160. Yes, the calorie deprivation is miserable, but this school teaches you that security is rule number 1, priority number 1, and that food can wait until secure conditions are reached.
I mean, yeah, it's designed that way on purpose. Combat water survival test is 100-meter closed swim with fake gear, jumping into the pool and ditching your gear before and part of your body breaks the surface, and blind jump off a 10-foot diving tower. I could probably, with enough exercise and practice and training, probably do the first 2. The ditching my gear part would fuck with me a little bit, I think.
Every minute of Ranger School is programmed. When you are in Garrison, you will train and train hard 20 hours a day.
That's not me saying I can do better, if not on par with the Army Rangers. I'm just saying that I can maybe, with enough time and dedication and training, could probably manage to pull something like that off.
Sure, there were days where I got more than 4 hours of sleep, but looking back, I honestly don't remember any. When you are in the field, you will patrol 24 hours a day in accordance with the tactical situation. Sometimes you have good leaders who get you to the patrol base quickly, and you are able to pull 50% security for 3 or 4 hours before conducting a mission.
Wow.
This means that you could get an hour and a half or 2 hours of sleep. But there are many days when you have bad leaders and you will literally walk all day long and never have time to eat or to get any sleep before executing the mission.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that sleep deprivation is significantly worse than food deprivation. And yes, the sleep deprivation was miserable, but this school teaches you that security is rule number 1, priority number one, and that sleep can wait until secure conditions are reached.
Sounds hard because that gear sticks to you and it must be 100% off your body. Oh, I couldn't do it. I don't have the dexterity for that. Even if I was at peak physical fitness, like enough to pass basic, I probably couldn't do that. I most likely could not do that and thus would fail Ranger School.
At the end of each phase of training, you will have a 1-hour mail call. Some Rangers got letters from family and loved ones. This was uplifting and encouraging. Others got some Dear John letters and had their girlfriends break up with him. This was a source of ruthless joking amongst the students.
That's just super shitty, though. Like, I don't understand that. If you have a significant other that's going into the military, it's going to be a time commitment. You're aware going in that, like, this is just part of who they are. It's just a really shitty thing to break up with them that way or cheat on them. That's just not okay. I mean, arguably, it's not okay to cheat or break up with somebody in a shitty manner, regardless, especially when it comes to the military. I don't know. That one never quite made sense to me. That's horrible. Had your LBE get caught on your boot when you had hit the surface failed. That is some strict timing. I couldn't fucking do that. That's wild to consider. Steeped up is horrible and so much worse than just being hungry. I mean, when you're hungry, right? Yeah, you can get to a point where you start feeling, faint. You can get to a point where you feel lightheaded, maybe. You're going to get a little angry. Absolutely. I'm not going to discount sleep deprivation in the slightest. Sleep deprivation is a different beast, though. That's when you start seeing shit.
A real kick in the stomach. But most Rangers have their friends and family send care packages full of junk food. I remember at the end of Benning phase eating some of Ariel's Reese's, canned coffee from Peterson, chocolate zingers from Ski,
Legend.
Twinkies from Matt's family, and some pralines from my Ranger buddy Joe. It was absolutely glorious, up until the RI collected back all of the leftover junk food and then took us for a run and smoked us. At Mountains...
Oh, you want some Reese's? We going for a run. I used to have somebody that I knew, and I can't remember. I think she was in the Navy, and I think it was their unit's office. They were stationed on a base somewhere. I can't remember where specifically. And her unit's officer, I guess, took them out to drink until like 3 a.m. and like drink. Like they drank. A few of them threw up, right? And it wasn't until after, at the end of it, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going for a run at 6. And everyone was just like, that was, apparently according to her, like, they're like, that was the worst day ever. And I'm just like, senior military is just built different. Like, it's simultaneously entertaining, but then you also realize it's terrifying because how shitty that must be.
I got a care package from my Special Forces buddy Max, who went through Ranger School a few years earlier. The package was full of contraband, and so my platoon got smoked and I got destroyed by the entire RI staff,
Oof.
to include the company commander. Thanks, Max.
He knew. God. That's something that you meet up like 5 years down the line and you just punch each other like, God damn it, how could you do that? It was kind of funny though.
Recommendation is this: don't eat yourself sick with your care packages. Have someone send you some immune boosters and fiber.
Oh no, best contraband you've ever seen in training. It was a recruit's father sending him a USAF, the Air Force cap, while he was in Army Basic. Look of horror. Oh no, that's awful.
6 of your favorite candy bars.
Peer evaluations must be really interesting.
After each phase, Rangers are required to write peer evaluations. This is where you write down who are the strongest and most helpful members of your squad and platoon. But you also get to write down who are the weakest members of your squad and platoon. I remember peering out a few people, but to be honest, these guys were jerks. It wasn't that they weren't good at react to contact or couldn't set up a crew-served weapon. It was because they were selfish and always put themselves ahead of the team.
Yeah.
For the most part, those who didn't finish Ranger School because of being peered out deserved it. Lesson learned: be a team player from day one, and your team will value you and be stronger for it.
I mean, I don't know. As a civilian, this just feels like this makes sense. No one's a one. Obviously, we've seen, bad electrician videos. There are definitely some one-man armies out there and have been in military history. In general, nobody's a one-man army. And here's the thing, right? If you have to do a mission, operation, etc. alone, right? Say, anyone with military experience, put yourself into the place of Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4, right? I'm sure a lot of you could find very interesting ways to, save Ashley Graham and defeat Osmond Sadler, right? I'm sure all of you could find very interesting and colorful ways from your own military perspectives to beat Resident Evil games, if that were allowed, right? And we're not constituting war crimes here, because technically it's a black operation and nobody else knows about it, so the rules of engagement are a little different. Let's just throw that out there. But I mean, at the end of the day, what would you rather have, right? Would you rather have one ranger solve a problem? Would you have a whole unit of rangers solving that problem and then some? Not saying that a single ranger can't, do a whole hell of a lot. They can absolutely fucking do a hell of a lot. One of these feels like teamwork just makes it easier for everybody, and at the very least, everyone gets a good laugh out of it.
All the way until graduation. No matter how many stories you hear about Ranger School, nothing really prepares you for the harassment.
Oh no.
Thankfully, I went to Ranger School 2 weeks after finishing SEER School, so I often said to myself, well, at least the RIs don't beat and torture me. But even then, it really fires you up when their meanness
I don't have enough context for SEER School. I don't.
And harassment never relent. Enduring this hardship is what builds mental toughness, one of the all-time most important mindsets of a champion. And
one ranger is fine. A platoon will topple government just for fun. Right. One ranger with enough, caffeine, with enough motivation is going to be able to get the job done. Now you get the whole squad involved, right? Or a whole platoon involved. Now you're having some fun. Is all I'm trying to get across. Peer evals can make or break military school. Ranger school gives you one shot to recycle specific mistakes. You can be recycled, failed peer eval, but you better not fail whenever again. Gotcha. So there is that grace period, and it's to weed out problematic behavior, it sounds like. Simulation is... That does not sound like a fun... SEER does not sound like a fun time. Oof.
The true legacy of Army Rangers. If you are interested in developing the champion mindset of the best trained and most elite forces in the world, then check out Special Operations Mindset. Ebook, paperback, audiobook, or take the course with 5 hours of original content. I'll leave a hyperlink in the description.
It was a smooth transition to the book. It was really smooth. I respect it.
And use the discount code Rangers Lead the Way, one word, all caps, to get 50% off the course. Let's finish up by discussing what you learn at Ranger School. Of course, you learn how to do squad and platoon level patrols, ambushes, raids, and a defense.
I hear that's murder on your knees.
But more importantly, you learn that security is rule number 1.
Look at that scope! Look at it! It looks so cool! I love it!
And that it comes before eating and sleeping. You learn about digging deep and giving everything you have for the good of the team. You learn mental and physical toughness, and that you're much more capable than you ever imagined. Okay, There you have it. An executive summary of Ranger School. Let me know what I missed or what has changed in the comments below. Looking back on all my training, I was glad I went to Ranger School, and I highly recommend it to any future leader. Please like and subscribe if you want to join my Life as a Special Operation team. And don't forget to forward this video to a friend who needs to see this.
Oh, this is awesome.
Life is a Special Operation. Are you ready for it?
This is an awesome video. I really like this. It was a really good video. I had not really known what Army Ranger School was as a civilian. I've had to deal with this at a couple people who were going to Ranger School, but I've never really understood the full extent of that. And I did wish them the best in their endeavors. And they were saying, oh, well, there's a 50% of people approximately that go in, they get they flunk out or they fail. You know, I just look, you got this. You got the mindset. You clearly got the skills, especially being recommended. This was an awesome video. As somebody who is a civilian looking in at military life, it's just very fascinating, and just to see what you guys go through. And I learn new things every day about it. And you guys are severely underappreciated for having to undergo things like this. It's very fascinating for me to see. You know, what are your thoughts on it? Has something changed since this came out a year ago? Has something changed in the structure of it, or in regards to certain testing parameters? And did you go to Ranger School? Did you have someone that did go to Ranger School? What was your specific in the military? It doesn't have to be Ranger School. It doesn't have to be the Army. You know, what was your experience in the military like? You know, obviously observing all OpSec, obviously observing all, you know, NDA things that you'll need to observe. You know, anonymization where needed. Now it's fascinating to hear stories about it, and I believe that, you know, people that have gone in the service, veterans, current and former, right, deserve to be respected and, you know, talked to outside of specific holidays. I think that's a very weird modern culture thing, but you guys do a hell of a lot and aren't recognized enough for it. Last, what do you think? Keep, you know, in the description, comments section, keep it all civil, all that fun stuff. I'll see you all in the next one.